hope my audio is on board with me today. I want to play today with two different Sydney Grace palettes, and I know I recently did a video, very recently within the last couple uploads, using Tiny Marvels, but today I have a specific thing that I want to talk about, and it is related to Sydney Grace. So I'm going to play with my two favorite Sydney Grace palettes, and we're going to talk. Let me prime my eyes with a Glamlight Icing Primer. Everything I use is linked in the description box. Let's go. The two palettes that I'm playing with are, of course, Tiny Marvels, when Sydney Grace collaborated with Mel Thompson, and I have the Tropicolor, which is another collaboration they did with Tina from the Fancy Face. This has long-term been my favorite Sydney Grace palette. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do. I do know for sure that I want to play with Meadowhawk, and I want to put Scarab on my lower lash line. It's just the mattes that I'm not completely sure of. All right, let's go. I've just got a pretty round blending brush here, and I'm taking Mantis from Tiny Marvels. I want to talk today about the concept of our fantasy selves. Now, I don't know if that's the commonly used term for that, but I wasn't sure even what to search when I went online to look it up to see if I could find any articles about this concept. And when you type in the word fantasy in Google, you might get some weird results. So I was careful about what I wrote, and I didn't come up with anything useful. Let me tell you a story, and then that might give you some context as to what I'm discussing today. A couple of years ago, my sister and I were talking, and we always have very interesting conversations because she's very smart. She was talking to me about what I think was a Reddit thread she had been reading. I don't know what the main topic of the thread was. I think it was something like this fantasy self idea, where we might have these perceptions of ourselves or what we'd like to be in our minds, and sometimes the decisions that we make are us acting out that character who may or may not actually be true to real life. In the thread, she read about a woman who loved red lipstick, and she just loved the way red lipstick looked, and she thought it was chic and sophisticated. And it was this woman telling a story. She thought it was elegant and beautiful, so she was always buying red lipstick. And it got to the point where she realized, when she was looking at all of the makeup she owned, and maybe even pictures and stuff over time, she realized that she never actually wore red lipstick. But she loved the idea of it. She loved the way that other people looked in red lipstick. Now I'm going with the same brush, I'll just wipe it off a bit. I'm going into Walking Stick, still in Tiny Marvels. So she realized that she loved other people wearing red lipstick, and that was just this image in her mind that she thought was perfect. And so she would buy red lipstick, bring it into her life, and never ever use it. And it was kind of an epiphany moment for her. Oh my goodness, I'm buying things for a person who doesn't exist. She just didn't like to wear red lipstick. She didn't like the way it transferred onto cups, or the way that it looked with her face shape or with her outfits, her wardrobe. She found that red lipstick was just too high maintenance. She was just happier with, I don't know, chapstick maybe, something low key, lip gloss or balm, something that's not as bold as red lipstick. So my sister was telling me about this, and that of course led us into discussion about what are some of our own fantasy selves. There are things that you can do to work towards what you'd like to be, of course. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about these fictitious persons whom we will never realistically be because they're not rooted in us. I might become really passionate about fitness, and that's still rooted in me. It's still my own personal interest just being expounded upon. Is that making any sense to you? I hope that's making sense to you. Here, this is the Walking Stick shade, and it's just the two, Mantis and Walking Stick right here. And Walking Stick is light enough that I can soften and soften and soften and blend out. Now I'm going into Tropicolor, and I'm picking up Maroon, which is here. And I will use this in my outer area here. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm referring to the fantasy self. It's not that it's this person that you could eventually be. If you want to be really good at something, put your effort into learning that thing. If you want to change your lifestyle, change your practices, and be a better version of yourself, that's great. I'm talking not a better version of ourselves, but a different, fictitious, never going to happen version of ourselves. A person that if we are real with ourselves, we go, that's not me, like the lady with the red lipstick. And red lipstick is never going to be something she is passionate about. it ended up just being something that she appreciated in others, which is also valid. But we have to know where that line is. What is me improved and what is just somebody else? This is how it correlates to Sydney Grace. I really enjoy some channels that I watch. I'm thinking, for example, Mandy Lee. When I watch her channel, she is lovely and her backdrop is lovely and her videos are so light and airy and her lighting is great. And she has this quiet, calm demeanor, soft-spoken. She just strikes me as a very refined, elegant sort of woman. Now, I can totally see her in a baseball cap and ripped jeans, which makes me like her even more in a way. But when it comes down to her makeup content, she has a more elevated style than me. And when I think about Sydney Grace, she's one of the content creators who jumps to mind, as that's kind of her thing. She loves the Sydney Grace brand because their aesthetic, their product is so aligned with who she is. It's a perfect relationship. I think where I'm stuck is that I kind of want to be like Mandy. I kind of want to possess those characteristics and that just that sense of put togetherness, and I don't feel like I have that. And I want to be elegant and classy. I want to be sophisticated, but I also want to be able to rock a baseball cap and ripped jeans. So I kind of want to be Mandy. And it's not that I can't develop myself, develop my own innate qualities to be a better balanced version of my best self, you know what I mean? But I'm never gonna be Mandy. Mandy is Mandy and I'm Rachel and I'm not Mandy, and that's that. So when I wanna be her, I tend to prefer the things that she says that she prefers in an attempt, like a fantasy self, a fantasy version of me. And I think that Sydney Grace has been one of those manifestations of me pursuing a fantasy self. Don't get me wrong, I think Sydney Grace is a beautiful, beautiful formula. And I've been saying this from the get-go. Their mattes are amazing and their shimmers are so beautiful. They're just not the sparkle that I want. But that's enough. I have five Sydney Grace palettes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. And I'm gonna go through them at the end of the video, show you which ones they are. Now I'm gonna take Meadowhawk from here, this one. And I'll use my finger and I'm just gonna put this here. That's pretty. I think that some of my draw towards Sydney Grace has been wanting to be like Mandy, liking the things that she likes, enjoying the things that she enjoys, looking the way that she looks. I think it's something of that. Something of me chasing a fantasy self. Now let's get Fire Butts. It's just the yellow right next to Walking Stick. Well, that's pretty. I do want to deepen a little bit more. Should I deepen with Spider? This is Spider in here, which is a very deep purpley brown shade, or I could deepen with Cocoa Beans, which is even deeper. I think I'll take Cocoa Beans just to get a smidge more contrast, because what I've got out here is already rather deep. I don't know if Spider would have been enough of a difference. So anyway, let me tell you the experience that brought me to where I am right now, sitting in this spot, having finally reached this conclusion. A couple of days ago, I played with the Norns palette from Udenzai, which has been in my collection for years and has been somewhat neglected because I have so many beautiful things in my collection and I kind of forgot about it. Other things just grabbed my attention more at any given day when I wanted to sit and do my eyeshadow. But I picked up the Norns palette and I started playing with it, and it was early morning, my lighting was terrible, and I was flying by the seat of my pants when it came to the mattes because I was working like very yellow light standing in my kitchen going, I hope that's about even. And then I dipped into one of the shimmers and I touched it with my finger, I touched it on my lid and I went, oh, I love that so much. It was so beautiful. It was just the perfect level of opacity and color and sparkle and glimmer, and in my terrible morning lighting, it looked gorgeous. So I knew that it would only be better in real, good, true daylight. It was so pretty, and I got this shiver of delight down my spine when I laid this color on my eyelid. And that's when I realized I don't have that reaction with my Sydney Grace palettes. They don't give me that. The mattes are a beautiful foundation point, but the shimmers, the real icing on the cake when it comes to an eye look for me, they did not give me that very real feeling of delight and excitement and joy. And I thought, why? Why am I fighting myself with this? Why am I fighting? That's pretty. I'm gonna put Scarab, this one here, on the whole lower lash line. I want to really be smoky down there. Don't know if I should lay it on top of a matte or not. Maybe very lightly. Let's take Bugaboo. So I wondered as I was wearing this Norns look, and literally this all happened within moments. I put the shadow on my lid and I had that reaction, and I started wondering, why am I fighting myself? Why am I fighting within this hobby, which is supposed to be joyful? I'm making myself use things that I don't love as much. And in exchange for that, I'm ignoring things that I do love. Every time I put on my eyeshadow, I should get that kind of reaction. Every time I should have this joyful delight when I put on a shadow and it's beautiful and it's perfect and it pleases me to no end. Here's Scarab on a really small, tight blending brush, or a precision brush. It struck me as very silly. It struck me as foolish that I'm putting so much energy trying to generate excitement for something which simply doesn't excite me. It's nothing against the product itself, but they're not sparking joy. They're not delighting me. And so it felt a little bit like madness, that I am resisting my natural inclinations. I'm fighting who I am. I'm chasing after a fantasy self. And you know what? Mandy Lee does an awesome job being Mandy Lee. I need to do an awesome job being me. I need to not chase after somebody who's fictitious, the Rachel version of Mandy. That's not realistic. It's not kind to myself, and it's not respectful of the money that I've put into a beautiful collection of eyeshadow, which does delight me. Why am I trying so hard to love something which I don't love? A Singe E01 into one of my all-time favorite inner corner highlights, Coconut from Tropicolor. That being said, out of my 5 Sydney Grace palettes, there are 2. Look, can we just look at this? It's even too much. It's too much. It's so stinking good. It's too much. There are 2 Sydney Grace palettes which I have, which I really, really enjoy. And they are the 2 that I'm playing with today, Tropicolor, and I am enjoying Tiny Marvels. It's quite new to my collection. This is maybe the 4th time I've used it, but I am enjoying it. And then I'm also gonna keep one other, which is the one that got me to fall in love with their mattes. But at the end of the video, I'm gonna go through all the Sydney Grace palettes I have, show them to you, and show you which ones I'm hoping to pass on to somebody who will genuinely appreciate them more. I did put black in my waterline and I have mascara on. For the rest of my makeup, I've got this bronzer from Physicians Formula and the Matchmaker blush from ColourPop. And then I have 2 things on my lips, Italia Deluxe liner in 1057 Black Currant and the ColourPop lip oil in the shade Smirk. Oh, it's almost gone. I think I'm going to be doing a video soon talking about some new lip oils that I've been trying because I love lip oils. Not red lipstick. Now, let me quickly go over the other palettes in my collection, which are Sydney Grace. We've discussed these 2 already. This is my favorite, and I have been enjoying the Tiny Marvels. The other ones I have are On the Horizon, which I bought myself secondhand, as I buy almost everything. I think this palette is beautiful, it has beautiful colors, but they're a little too deep, deeper than I tend to use. There are no light mattes in here to work with the dark mattes. These 2 on my skin, the shimmer ends up being darker than the matte. And this is not quite the tone I wanted it to be when I bought the palette, and then this is also a little bit darker than I wanted. So on the whole, it is filled with beautiful shadows. It's just a bit of a disappointment for me and my preferences and my skin tone. That's why I'm parting with this one. I'm also going to be getting rid of the InMail's Memory Bundle, which really disappoints me. I wanted more from this, and it's nothing to do with the brand or Mel Thompson or the formula. It's only me and my preference. I feel like I have to keep saying this when it comes to Sydney Grace and even Mel Thompson stuff, because I'm not trying to disparage anyone. It's simply personal preference. So please don't come after me. Don't unsubscribe because I said I wasn't going to keep the InMail's Memory Bundle. It's beautiful. It's just most of the mattes in here don't really show up very flattering on my skin tone. It's not that I don't use these colors, but I don't use them primarily most of the time. For me, the mattes are the foundation of a look. Like I said earlier, the shimmers are the frosting on top. And so if I already don't love the shimmer formulation for my own preferences, it's just not sparkly and glimmery enough, then I'm going to be naturally more interested in the mattes and how they perform and how they look on me. So this one is just Color Story. It's beautiful. It's so great. I did buy this one brand new, and I've used it enough to know that it's not working. Those are both listed on my Poshmark and MERCARI accounts, and then the third one that or the fifth one rather, that I have from the brand, the third one that I'm planning on keeping is Quintessence in Light. This one was given to me, and I'm going to keep this one because I think that overall it has a nice arrangement of mattes. We have light, medium, dark right there, and then there's a dark bluey green color over here, nice teal, and then the shimmers, I'm going to use all of them. Like, they're all lighter toned, or like the darker ones are not so dark that I would avoid them. They're like, these are the smoky eye kinds of shimmers. If I were doing a shimmer on the whole lid, a really dark smoky look, these are the kinds that I would use. I'm going to use everything in here. I am. And so I tend to prefer this collection of colors more than the On the Horizon, maybe because it's the light version, and I think I believe my On the Horizon is the deep version. This is just a better fit for my skin tones. But anyway, so that's my video on where I finally landed with Sydney Grace, because you guys probably know, if you've watched a lot of my recent videos, I keep saying that they're so great, but I'm struggling for some reason. Despite the quality and the fantastic performance of the product, it's just not working for me. And I think that it comes down to this person that I've built up in my mind who isn't grounded in reality. I can be and work to become a better version of myself and you know, personally develop and grow, but I still have to be true to myself and who I am and what I actually like. And I'm not a red lipstick wearer. So that's where I am with Sydney Grace. I am never gonna be Mandy. I just need to be me. And I can appreciate Sydney Grace, the shadows that I have and the palettes that I like the most, but it's not going to be a brand that I'm going to be collecting, I think. At the end of the day, my true preferences lean in a different direction. So I'm certainly going to use what I have, enjoy what I have, appreciate what I have, but I have to still be true to me. I hope that makes sense. I hope I've communicated clearly to you today. I appreciate you so much for being here. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you have a fantasy self? Have you heard of this concept or this idea that we've got people, like versions of ourselves in alternate realities, and maybe the decisions that we make in our actual reality might be reflecting one of those other people? I would love to hear your thoughts, of course. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed today's eyeshadow look. Do tell me what you think, because I think it's pretty. And I look forward to wearing it for the rest of the day. Although I was talking so much in the first half of the video, I kind of lost track of which shadows I was using, so I hope that this side matches. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing before you go if you enjoy and want to see more of this kind of content, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.